Stop. Come on. Not another track of lame influencer music. Sounds better already. Zermatt, in the Swiss canton of Valais, where still water costs the equivalent of the GDP of a Pacific island nation, and hoteliers die of laughter when asked for a room under 200 Swiss francs per night. However, Zermatt is also the start and end point of a stunning 5-day hut-to-hut hike, the Matterhorn Trek. On the first day, the route ascends 750 meters to the Drift Mountain Inn. Along the normal route, you primarily hike up through a gorge following the drift stream. Of course, I didn't choose the normal route, but took the Visonweg instead. This trail was not only significantly longer, but also added up to more than 1,300 meters of elevation gain, as I decided to take a detour up the Vison summit at 2,936 meters. I did it for two reasons. Firstly, I was as fit as a fiddle with strings made of ibex gut and mouth-woven Gore-Tex, and secondly, the normal route was closed. Leaving Zermatt behind, the hiker quickly gains altitude, or to put it differently, within an hour at most he's on first-name terms with every sweat gland in his body. Meanwhile, the popping of champagne corks on the terraces of upscale restaurants fades away, and even the occasional cries for help from servants/household slaves of Indian billionaire families fall silent. Passing odd piles of stones, the path leads up to the Vison. By the way, peaks below 3,000 meters don't hold much significance for the Swiss generally, and even less for the Valaians. Instead of a summit cross, they simply placed a signpost on the Vison. However, this doesn't diminish the view, which is breathtaking. Maestro, change the music. From the summit of the Vison, it's a descent of 600 meters to the mountain in Drift, where hutkeeper Hugo Biene and his team recharge their guests with hearty homemade fare. It's rustic and cozy, even if the dormitory somewhat resembles the playground of an aging swinger club. The next morning, dozens of hiking boots were already waiting impatiently, their laces wagging eagerly for their owners. The second stage of the Matterhorn Trek leads from the Drift Mountain Inn up to the Schönbiel hut. Over a distance of 11.3 kilometers, the trail ascends a total of 780 meters and descends 430 meters. The day began with a march through moisturizing mist. Good for the skin, bad for the view. At least my sweat glands were able to recover from the constant strain of the previous day. Again and again the trek passes piles of stones, which are supposed to serve as route markers. At least that's what tourists are meant to believe. In truth, they are disguised aliens who abduct hikers and conduct cruel experiments on them, which survivors described as a combination of a root canal treatment and a colonoscopy without anesthesia. You can read all about it on the internet. Around midday, the clouds cleared, allowing the hikers' gazes to wander all the way to the Schönbillhut across a breathtaking high alpine scenery, with the namesake of the entire trek and mother of all peaks towering at its center, the Matterhorn. And what does this mean? Of course, a change of music. At 2,700 meters, the Schönbillhut not only offers dormitory accommodation and hearty meals, but also an impressive view of the Matterhorn, 2 sinks in the boot room, a well, and 2 outhouses with a panoramic view. The next morning the hikers first got something hearty for their stomachs, then something impressive for their eyes, along with a packed backpack for their backs and laced up boots for their feet. The trek moved on. The Queen stage of the Matterhorn Trek, from the Schönbillhut to the Hörnli-Hut at 3,260 meters, 13.2 kilometers with an ascent of 1,100 meters and a descent of 540 meters. The route planning, sadistic as it is devious, initially makes the trekker believe that the stage is suitable for mountain hiking toddlers, as the first third of the route continuously leads downhill. The previous scenes of the video might give the impression that the Matterhorn Trek is a relatively easy hike, but that's not the case. Firstly, steep terrain is difficult to capture and film, and secondly, whenever it got steep, I was more focused on my lung capacity and heart rate than on my camera. Before tackling the Matterhorn Trek, anyone without experience in alpine hiking should first gain some. On day hikes, for example, just as I did. Otherwise, this beautiful hike can quickly become an ordeal and even dangerous, especially in bad weather. The highlight of the first section of the Queen Stage was the Arben waterfall. Shortly afterwards, hiking downhill became history for the time being. Heading toward Schwarzsee, the trail again started adding elevation gain to the hiking account. The Schwarzsee can be reached by cable car, so it got crowded, well, sort of. From the Schwarzsee restaurant, you can even enjoy the view of the Matterhorn while walking in flip-flops. For the Matterhorn trekker, the most difficult and exhausting part of the hike begins here, the ascent to the Hörnli hut. The Hörnli hut at 3,260 meters is the highest point of the Matterhorn Trek, unless you hike a few more minutes to the starting point of the summit climbing route. It's a rather unsettling feeling knowing that during the 3 months climbing season, an average of 8 to 10 mountaineers lose their lives each year pursuing their dream of summiting the Matterhorn. The Hörnli hut is the most modern accommodation on the trek, but comfort comes at a price. As of 2024, a bed in a shared dormitory with half-board costs 150 francs. A double room 480 and a 3 minutes hot shower 5 francs. A unique experience is mingling with the mountaineers at 3:30 in the morning, in air thick with adrenaline just before they set off by the dozens towards the summit, soon visible only by the glow of their headlamps. A little later, the sunrise at the Hörnli hut evokes feelings that can be described as a mix of fascination, humility and, after a short delay, the desire for a hearty breakfast. A hut-to-hut tour is not for late risers. Depending on the hut, you have to lace up your boots and set off between 7:30 and 9 in the morning. The second to last stage leads from the Hörnli hut to the Gandeck hut at the Theodul Glacier. Over 9 kilometers, the route ascends 430 meters and descends 660 meters. The first third of the route descends towards Schwarzsee. From the top station of the Hörnli cable car, the trail continues along the Matterhorn Glacier Trail through a bizarre yet fascinating moonscape towards Trockener Steg. At this point, a brief excursion into the humor of the Valayians manifested in signposts. Even for hikers playing a fiddle with strings made of ibex gut and mouth-woven Gore-Tex, the time estimates on these signs are ridiculously short. In fact, each time estimate should have had course record printed in parentheses next to it. When I brought this up, a hut keeper told me, "It's possible." True. After all, you might also finish a marathon in a little more than 2 hours. When you are hiking alone for hours across such a landscape, a feeling of loneliness can arise which every hiker deals with differently. For me, for example, singing out loud helped. I woke up feeling on top of the world, like nothing's ever gonna bring me down.
This feeling got me flying high as a bird. I may never touch the ground. It may not be my birthday, but I just wanna celebrate. I just wanna celebrate, 'cause it's a good day, good life. I just wanna celebrate all night. Throughout my veins, I don't want it to stop. I feel invincible in every way. I'ma give it all I got. It may not be my birthday, but I just wanna celebrate. I just wanna celebrate, 'cause it's a good day, good life.
At the Trockener Steg cable car station, the solitude was temporarily over. From here, it's just under half an hour or an ascent of about 100 meters to the Gandeck hut.
There's nothing like this.
The gun deck hut is located at an altitude of 3030 meters. One by one the Matterhorn trekkers arrive and enjoy the breathtaking view of a magnificent glacier landscape. Proud of what they'd achieved and relieved not to have been abducted by aliens, the hikers celebrate their final evening of the Matterhorn Trek. The next morning, the breathtaking view of the Zermatt mountain landscape and the Theodul glacier once again offered the opportunity to breathe with one's eyes. After breakfast, it was time to shoulder the backpack and tackle the final stage of the Matterhorn Trek. From here it was all downhill. A total descent of 1,415 meters back to Zermatt. Including my ascent to the Wishorn summit, the cumulative elevation gain of the Matterhorn Trek was approximately 3,700 meters, the equivalent of walking up and down the Empire State Building 10 times. A wise man, probably a travel agent, once said, "Some invest their money in stocks, others in memories." From this point of view, hiking the Matterhorn Trek is more than just a hut-to-hut hike. It's an investment in excellent memories.
nothing